Okay, and we are live. Welcome everyone and anyone who may be tuning in. This is the Daily Drop Show with Shrimp Daddy and Daddy Addy. Working title, of course. And we got Mr. Shrimp, of course, my co-host in the building today. But before we get into it, Mr. Shrimp, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Yeah. Another day, another dollar. I was just talking to you before we went live today about, I just mentioned briefly the Portugal fire that I was reading about today was moving at one point at a rate of 5 kilometers in under 10 minutes, which is ridiculously fast. And there were some deaths. I believe it was like 24 deaths that I recall, which is quite unfortunate. But there's also flooding in Germany as well that Germans were dealing with, and only the people, like kind of the richer people who were in like high rises, stayed around in those really bad parts. But I don't know what your thoughts are. Oh, and then one more thing too before I hand it off to you. The man who was shot yesterday in Kenosha, Wisconsin, survived, but he is paralyzed from the waist down after being shot 7 times by that cop who looked on his Facebook profile, and his Facebook default pic said the words "raise hell" on it. Quite interesting.
And there's been some more video footage that's come out too, and there's been some more like eyewitness descriptions of what's happened too.
Did you get a chance to see those? I haven't seen those yet.
Yeah, I mean, I looked into it a little bit more, and there was like a guy in the neighborhood that kind of knew him, and he's given some more interviews, and it looks like I guess he was kind of tussling with the cops a lot before it happened, and the cops were unable to restrain him even though they tased him and stuff, and there were several cops there, but I don't think they needed to shoot him.
Okay, so you don't think it was justified shooting him?
No, they should just like beat the hell out of him.
I mean,
he was resisting arrest.
Yeah.
The whole event is unclear, even why he was there.
I mean, if these police officers knew even some basic wrestling skills, this would not be.
Yeah, they should. 4 or 5 cops should be able to restrain one person without having to shoot him 7 times.
Oh yeah, and they didn't even attempt to tackle him.
Well, they shot him in the back when he was walking away too, because they were pissed because he kind of won the scuffle. I guess.
I didn't even see that. Did you see that?
I think there's video footage, but I don't think it's been released yet of all the angles.
Yeah.
But there's just been eyewitness people giving events of what happened from before you can see what happened on the main video footage.
Yeah, and I think it's the mayor of Kenosha tried to address the city, but he just got yelled at. Like they couldn't even address it because people were just yelling over him. And there was rioting in I think Madison too, and looting on State Street, which is kind of the main street there that goes right up to the Capitol in the capital of Wisconsin. All quiet on the Western Front here where I'm at. I'll be just say it. I haven't said this yet on camera, but I am actually in the Eau Claire area in Eau Claire County in Wisconsin, which is pretty good size city over on the west side of the state. Depending in my neighborhood, it's quite pro-Biden, but when I drive kind of outside the city, it's almost all Trump signs that I see. But no protests here, nothing of that sort that I was aware of. I did see one cop in my neighborhood the night of the shooting, which is a little weird because I'm not used to seeing cops in my neighborhood. But other than that, nothing really going on over here. Just in those two
Yeah.
big cities, Madison and
Um,
well, Kenosha is really not even that big, and I haven't heard anything about what happened or what, if anything, has happened in Milwaukee.
yeah. I mean, it just depends. Every time a cop makes a mistake, or every time, it doesn't matter if it's a mistake. It doesn't really matter why it happens. But every time a cop shoots somebody or kills somebody now, there's potential for a riot to happen now. So it could happen anywhere, really.
Do you think anyone will retaliate at any point, anywhere with weapons of their own?
Against the police.
Yeah, or do you think that's not a
Yeah, because
possibility?
so I've been looking into that. So like since the riots happened like 2 months ago, there's a guy that smashed a cop in the head with a brick in New York City, an NYPD officer. There was like another similar incident where another cop got hit in the head. So it's happened in Portland and Seattle. There's like a dozen officers injured every night with like black eyes or broken noses and stuff. The Proud Boys and Antifa, they're pretty much doing gang warfare in the middle of the streets. Really, people
Yeah, I
can pick a
saw.
side. To me, there's no difference between Proud Boys and Antifa. Really, they're both they both have pipes and like bear mace, and they're fighting in the streets.
Yeah, I did see those videos of those two factions fighting, and I also saw that one video of the cop getting attacked with the brick, which, to be honest, I was expecting more violence directed
Yeah, there
directly at
will. I
cops
think there
than
will
we've
be.
seen
It's
so
just a
far.
matter of time. It's
You
not
think so?
yet. Probably around the elections. There's going to be like it's already happened in New York City, in other parts of the East Coast. Whenever there's like these riots, there'll be a random person, usually a black person from the hood, that walks up and kills like a random cop or two. That's happened a dozen times. Was it in Washington State where there was the black soldier that went AWOL, or no, he was LAPD. He went AWOL and shot up like a whole bunch of people. It's gonna happen. Chappelle talked about it on his last special.
Dave
I
Chappelle
think it.
did.
Yeah, I think it's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna. Antifa is gonna. They're more armed than ever right now. So one of these groups is gonna pick up a gun and retaliate. I mean, they burned. How many police stations have they burned down or taken over now? Two or
Yeah,
three.
and we have seen a couple videos too of them getting run over. I don't know if you've seen any of those.
Yeah, of cops
Yeah.
getting ran over with cars.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen at least two, I think. Of like, there's one in New York that he
I
just got
mean,
lit
their
up.
cars get attacked all the time. Did that car dealership that got lit up? That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, when they like ransacked
Yeah, it's
the
just
dealership and stole the cars.
I wouldn't feel safe if I was a cop at one of these protests.
Yeah,
Like in Buffalo, one of the cops. So Channel 4 News, the channel that trolls me, or what they used to, they were interviewing somebody in the street, right? And while they were interviewing somebody, like the SWAT team rolled in and like shot them all up with like paintballs and bean bags and like tackled them right while they were on live TV being interviewed. It was obviously like crazy that they did that. You know, they knew they were being interviewed on the main news channel, but they did it anyways. Right after that happened, a young woman ran over two cops and like cracked like their collarbone and like their hips and stuff. And she says it was an accident, but I think everybody knows that it was basically like a comparable to a jihadi suicide attack. And they lit her car up and shot her up. So it's
did she
already
die though?
happening, really.
Did she die in when during
She
that
didn't
incident?
die, and she lived, and she's saying that it was an accident. She made a wrong turn, but the prosecutors are saying she did it on purpose. That she turned around, and there's evidence that she did it on purpose.
Do
But
you? how does that make you feel, Shrimp, when you see those cops getting attacked?
Oh, I have no sympathy at all for the Buffalo police that got their hips broken, cracked, and the Buffalo police that got ran over. I have zero sympathy. The same police officers that got their hips cracked are the same officers that slammed a 75-year-old to the ground and cracked his head open.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the whole
I don't care at all. I
the
don't have
whole
sympathy.
SWAT team quit because he got a slap on the wrist, so they all quit.
Yeah, I saw that. It was like 40. Was it like 40 some guys
And
and
then
maybe
all the
sure
Buffalo
girls too?
police and then all the Thin Blue Line supporters, they all came out and supported the police, and the police protested that that slamming a senior citizen to the ground as hard as you can, basically, they protested him being punished. It's ridiculous.
They protested the cop being punished for that.
Yeah, there's a protest by the police and the police supporters in Buffalo, hundreds. They protested the fact that the cop got suspended for a few days or whatever because he pushed the guy to the ground. That was the protest.
Yo, I want to go on a tangent on that particular incident in a second here, but before we get to that, I want to ask. Well, I want to say first, I also have zero sympathy whatsoever if any of these cops get injured. This is a long, long time coming. There's an
Like one
ex-police
of us, one of
officer.
them.
I mean, it's blood for blood, really, and I'm not saying that I'm
I'm
calling
not
for
calling for
violence,
any blood, but that's
but
just how I see it.
yeah, in like I think the Buddhists would say this is karma. This is energy balancing itself out, and you know, I mean, for it to be balanced, you know, I mean, this is just a drop in the bucket as far as I'm concerned. But there was an ex-police officer. His name was Chauncey something, Chauncey Smith or something. It was in a BBC article, and he said, "This is the chickens coming home to roost. Is these protests and these riots against the police?" And it's just funny when people like us criticize them or don't even have any sympathy for them. We get called communists and chills and all this,
Yeah.
which
I
just
mean,
shows the light switch
I can
thinking.
criticize Black Lives Matter and Antifa too, though. So I mean,
Yeah, yeah. That doesn't make you a Nazi. What's funny about that is you can criticize BLM, but nobody calls you a Nazi, right?
yeah.
But as soon as you criticize the police, then you're a communist. Like, oh, okay.
I'm
But
well aware that none of the rioters that are looting the stores, like looting Gucci stores or sneaker stores or whatever, almost none of them are MAGA supporters. I'm well aware of that. But there is Republicans now rioting in the streets because they're battling leftists with weapons on the West Coast.
yeah, I've seen that.
Those are definitely riots to me.
What do you think of the Proud Boys? I actually don't know much about them.
I think they're not as extreme as the media portrays them, but the media portrays Antifa. I mean, they're the right wing's answer to Antifa. They're exactly what Antifa is, but on the opposite political spectrum.
Yeah.
They're the exact same thing.
Why do you think that people kind of there are people, some people who defend the police no matter what? Why do you think that is? What do you think the psychology behind that is?
I think it's just like a cultural thing. Baby boomers and stuff were just growing up to respect authority no matter what and do what you're told. Don't question authority. Almost like in a communist type belief system.
Mhm.
I don't know,
Do
but
you think fear plays a role?
it's only Republicans that are bootlickers. There's
We should
not
just start calling bootlickers and just have that be their
there's not
designated
there's
name.
there's not Democrats that are like. I mean, there are, but Democrats tend to not really be like defending the police all the time. It's only Republicans. Why is there a certain group of Republicans that refuse to accept any like the police could ever do any wrong. I'm not sure.
I think fear plays a part in it.
I think more will as time goes on.
More well, what?
More people accept that the police aren't always doing the right thing.
Yeah, I hope so. And again, just to reiterate, I do think, we should not go to the Wild West where it's like,
Well,
it's
we're
kind of
headed there.
survival of the fittest.
We're headed there
But
right now.
I mean, it's to the point where it's like, it's up for debate that situation would be better for the United States if everybody's packing heat. Like, that's the point we're heading to, where it's like, maybe say there is no police and everybody's packing heat, and you just have these gangs
Well, the
who,
police can't really just stop it because they don't have the numbers.
yeah, exactly.
Like in
There's
Portland,
only so many of
they're
them.
not stopping Antifa and the Proud Boys from fighting, hitting each other in the head with steel pipes and stuff.
Do you think there's some sympathizers within the judicial system with Antifa?
Very few, like AOC, maybe, like, but no, I don't think most Bernie fans or Clinton fans. I don't think most of them are Antifa supporters. I think Antifa supporters are like emo kids that are like 13 to 18 in school. I think you're not finding like 50 to 90-year-old Antifa members. Those for the most part don't exist. It's mostly like punk rock kids in high school.
I'm going to push back on that a bit, Shrimp, because I have seen on, I think his name is Andy
Yeah, some of the leaders are older.
Nago. You know this guy, Andy Nago? I don't know how
Yeah, he's been attacked by Antifa.
Yeah. There was a guy who was
reporting
Asian,
on them.
and he was just there at the protest, and they thought it was this Andy guy, so they attacked him.
I saw it, and he was harassed by them.
Yeah. But he posts on his Twitter almost every day or every time there's a riot of the people who have been arrested and released without bail, which is quite a few of them. And it actually includes people from the University of Oregon Health and Sciences and some attorneys as well. I've seen
I've seen attorneys, and I think it was in New York trying to do like Molotov cocktails and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the majority of Antifa is like anarchist, like punk rock emo kids.
Younger
younger
people.
And I don't think Antifa is highly organized, and I don't think the Proud Boys really are either. But as time goes on, they're becoming more organized, and
yeah, I think Antifa is much more organized than the Proud Boys are. At least militarily.
Proud Boys is very, very regionalized too.
Antifa
is more spread out.
Right.
But the weapons they're bringing to the riots are getting more serious. If you start looking at these videos, it looks like bear mace and like professional mace and like baseball bats, steel batons, extendable batons. They're bringing pretty serious weapons now. Shields, like really big shields that they're making.
Yeah, I saw that. They got shields and bats now, and they're just I saw this one guy, he just sprayed his whole canister of mace and just chucked the canister of mace after he was done with it at the dude.
Yeah, but it's out of control. It's complete anarchy. It makes Chaz look like nothing.
Is that still
Chaz over that?
Is that still like active? Do they still have Chaz in effect? I thought they get dismantled.
No, I mean they pretty much dismantled it. But I think Seattle is going to be a hotbed for protest, though. They're going to pick up again, I think, in Seattle. Because Seattle's so much like Portland.
Yeah. I want to go back to that incident with the old man getting attacked. And we're at the point now, Shrimp, where what we see on the media is, I mean, you can have a video of something like that, and people won't believe it because they think it's an act. Like, because that's how low
Yeah,
the trust is in media.
Trump
Like,
tweeted that it was a conspiracy or something, that he was
did he really?
scanning. Donald
Oh,
Trump, the president, tweeted that old guy was scanning the police radios or something.
see, it's stuff like that that just makes me like really, really just despise Trump, even though I am going to vote for him. It's like, dude, that is it's just such a divide and conquer. You know, it's like one of his classic WWE tactics where he just says shit just to get people riled up. Because I think he knows it's real. You know, he's just saying that to divide people more. And we're at the point now in the media where I saw this one guy on Twitter. I think his name is Kyle Trouble. It's just like one of these Twitter business guys. And I used to follow him, but he just got too annoying because like he started commenting on politics and stuff in certain ways. And I'm like, dude, you're not well read on this, obviously, based on what you tweet. But on top of that, he tweeted this thing. He's like, "Oh yeah, that's fake. It's you can tell he had a packet of blood in the back of his head that he
I mean,
like exploded as he fell down, and you can tell it's fake blood." I'm like, that's the point we're at now with the trust in actual video of
there's
that happening, where it's
hundreds
like,
of witnesses and multiple camera angles, and
I think he's still in the
definitely the real
hospital. That's what
deal.
my uncle said. My uncle said as of like 2 weeks ago that he's still in the hospital. It's like, how do you fake that, dude? Like, it's obviously real, you know. And he's an old
Yeah.
man. Like, if he gets cracked in the skull, he's obviously not going to do that well. Like,
To me, when it's an old white guy that's from the burbs and he gets his head cracked open, then it's like, to me, it means it's getting serious. Because it's not
yeah,
just like poor black people anymore. It's like, this was like not a well off, but like, he's from like the nicest area of Buffalo, basically. And
I didn't know that.
yeah, he's from Amherst, New York, which is, I live kind of near there. That's basically considered one of the nicer areas of Buffalo. Um, so if it's like a older white guy from the burbs getting his head cracked open from the police, can be anybody. I wouldn't recommend
Yeah,
people go to the
and
protest. I'm not going to them. They're dangerous, you know.
yeah, I went to the one in Eugene a couple nights just to document, really.
Yeah,
And immediately, man, they try to flank you and they try to box you in.
the police do.
Yeah, they try to
Yeah,
box you in so you can't get out. And I was like,
so
as
they
soon as
can
they
hit you
started
with
doing that,
baseballs or whatever they want to
as
do.
soon as they started doing that, I'm like, okay, I'm out, bro. And we kind of waited, me and these other two people. I think it's still on my video actually, which people can check out on my channel. We just kind of waited for a salient, and we waited for him to go past. We kind of hid in this person's yard, and then I just went home after that. I was like, dude, screw this. You know, they're obviously have uh, those flanking maneuvers. That was obviously planned. You know, they try to
Yeah, I mean,
box you in.
things are getting serious. People are getting ripped out of their cars. It's happened in Portland. I just showed it in one of my videos. It's happened in Buffalo several times. It's happened in Rochester, where you're driving through a protest and you get ripped out of your car and beaten. It's happened a bunch of times. Too many times to list. Dozens and dozens.
I saw I think it was in Texas. This was at a Hampton Inn. Some people stumbled across basically DHS employees, unidentified, no badges, would not identify themselves. They had a whole floor on this Hampton Inn basically sealed off for interrogations or
Yeah,
who knows
like
what.
that's what would happen to me if I were like a biohazard suit and a mask, and I went is Shrimp Zoo to cover one of these things. Like in Portland, the unmarked police, I'm sure, would be like picking me up.
Yeah, I mean that's
Imagine
really
that.
scary, dude. And I heard too on NPR that one guy was just walking by. I think he was just walking home or something, and an
Well, yeah,
unmarked van picked him up.
you
They
can
just picked
be
him up.
you can be against Antifa and not want there to be a Chaz in your city, but still not want like unmarked, unnamed military police in like soccer vans, like just arresting people for doing nothing, or just like whatever, and just taking them off. You could not want both scenarios to happen.
Yeah. I saw this tweet on my my personal Twitter account, which I actually don't log into that much, but uh, I follow people I went to school with and the likes. You get a lot of leftist sympathizers and the like,
Well,
so
yeah,
it's partly why I
because
don't.
that's what's promoted on social media is only the left agenda.
Yeah, and on universities too, which is where
Yeah,
I went to
definitely.
the University of Wisconsin, which is one of the most liberal universities in the United States. I mean, George Webb made me laugh because he's like, "Oh yeah, you guys got a nice red square over there," because the Capitol building is like in the
Yeah.
middle of basically this hill in the isthmus. And there's literally a Capitol Square that goes around it, and then State Street goes right up to it. Which is where they did the rioting and looting. I believe it was yesterday. I heard on the radio, and yeah, so you do get a lot of these leftist sympathizers that come out of universities, and they don't even realize it that they have these neo-Marxist leanings.
Well,
But
they're breeding Antifa members, I guess, right? I'm
I
sure
mean,
at
I
some of
would
these
say so.
universities.
I think Jordan Peterson is right when he said that the neo-Marxists have a very strong foothold in universities, particularly humanities departments. Certainly, departments like the gender studies, sociology, and psychology. Now you got the APA, American Psychology Association, classifying. I think it was. I don't know if it was masculinity or testosterone. I think it was masculinity as a disorder, some sort of disorder. This
That's
is
funny.
the official APA, the official American Psychological Association, and they might have put it in the DSM as well. I'm not really sure on that, uh, but I did see this tweet from this girl. She had a bunch of retweets on it. She made a great point. She's like, because the New York police, they said it was standard procedure for these unmarked vans to just take people away.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, so you should just comply with a group of people in an unmarked van trying to kidnap you?" Like, fuck that, dude. I'm not doing that. Like, who knows who those people are, you know?
Yeah, definitely. It's
Never mind the
worrisome.
fact that
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't agree
like the federal
with the
police in these cities and these like weird police units that they're just making up and placing wherever.
hmm Yeah.
People
Do you
see
think?
people think the riots aren't going to come to their cities though, because they're in Middle America and they're only
Yeah.
seeing them in LA. But it's the same thing as COVID. People in Nebraska were like, "Oh, it will never come here," until 2 months later when it was there and it was everywhere. These riots aren't going to stay only in Paris, in the UK, in LA, in New York, in Chicago, in Louisiana, and wherever else they're happening. They're gonna spread all over to all these cities. And like what's happening in Belarus, that's not going to stop at the borders of Belarus. It's just gonna
Yeah.
all this is gonna continue for quite some time.
Yeah. I definitely can speak for the kind of the mood of the people where I'm living here in Eau Claire, and yeah, there's kind of this mood of, I don't know. It seems like they're almost like hope, like you said. They're just like, oh, it's not gonna happen here to me, type of thing. Maybe some fears
Yeah,
playing
man.
into it. I'm sure, like
You
they really fear that coming to their city, so
so
they
in
convince themselves that it's
Yeah,
not
I
going
mean,
to.
in your city, do you think a white cop is never gonna kill a black guy again ever? Because that's gonna happen in every city, obviously. And it sometimes it'll be an accident, sometimes it'll be justified, sometimes maybe once in a while maybe it will be a murder. It doesn't matter if it's justified or not. It's gonna happen in all these cities where white cops are killing black people. It's gonna cause riots. It's only a matter of time till it happens in the next city. And like the one that just happened, I mean, he was wrestling with the cops and everything. It wasn't like a crystal clear picture what should have happened. Those kinds of things are just going to keep happening, and
Right?
riots are going
Yeah.
to
I
happen.
mean, Look, I realize not every cop is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but you know, Hodger Gracie, Hoyler Gracie, these guys could easily have subdued that
Oh
man
yeah,
in 30 seconds. Like,
yeah.
and you're telling me 4 or 5 grown-ass men can't tackle him? Like, come on. You know, it's just
They
an
should have all got their
inexcusable.
tasers out and just like tasered him till they got him tasered and maced him down.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't have mace, they don't have tasers, they don't
They
have
got like cuffs and they got handcuffs and wrestling techniques. They got batons and all that.
yeah, I mean, you know, half these dudes
Those
play
huge
football. Like
flashlights.
like you said earlier when we talking, you're like, I bet you most of them are just like failed NFL players, and so you know they have some of those guys have football and or wrestling experience. I mean, he just waited for him like to reach
But
in his
yeah,
car so he
he
could
didn't
shoot.
have to shoot him 7 times in the back,
Yeah,
in the upper body.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can't leg him like.
You could have,
Yeah,
dude. You could have ran up behind him and like done a super drop kick to his back.
yeah, or a suplex or something, you know, like, or
There's
just got
so
him in a
many.
rear naked and put him to sleep, and
No,
then
it's just they were embarrassed. The guy was embarrassed because he lost the tussle. So he's like, "You have to die now. You disrespected the cops. That's what happened to me. You disrespect the cops, you're gonna pay. Doesn't matter what the law is. At the end of the day, the law is whatever that cop in front of you says it is.
oh
That's
yeah,
what the
and
real
and
law
and
is.
their gang, you know, members, their fellow gang members, they're gonna back them up no matter what they do, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned.
See, there's good cops in that department,
I mean, there's good Nazis too.
but there's not one cop in that department that's gonna like. All of the cops are gonna stick up for that cop. There's not gonna be one cop that comes out as like a peace activist and is like, "Hey, this is wrong. How do we solve this?"
Yeah, where are those cops? The cops that
They
quit? Why
don't
aren't they saying
exist.
something?
They don't
Right?
exist.
Just
We
cowards,
need
man.
one of them.
Anyways, we're at our half an hour here, Shrimp. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in for our daily drop with Shrimp Daddy and Daddy Addy Adakin, the lonely Ronin, YouTube's chosen one. Go and subscribe to Shrimp Zoo. He's getting shadow banned. Go check out his Patreon and his Twitter as well. And if you are feeling so inclined, please do give me a sub and a like on this video. And we're going to try to get a simulcast tomorrow on Shrimp's channel. So we're going to do all of my channels, and then we'll get our backup channel as well as Shrimp's channel as well. And try to get this movement going. It's day 2, episode 2 of our show. And we're just going to be consistent with it, people. So, you know, trying to bring you our takes some on the news, new info, accurate info, as accurate info that we can glean from this media frenzy, this information quagmire that we are all in, this information war. We're all trying to fight on the side of the Patriots, on the side of the, well, not the New England Patriots, because go Packers, but the side of the American Patriots, Canadian Patriots, United Kingdom, British Patriots as well, Australia, where things have gotten crazy, draconian, to use one of the most used words of the year. And yeah, we're just gonna keep doing this, guys. So weekdays every single night, and then we got a Sunday is our long form podcast where we're gonna go at least an hour, but probably more many days, just because we're getting in that groove. So, you got anything you want to say before we sign off here, Shrimp?
Just keep watching because we're gonna keep coming out with videos hopefully every single day.
Word, definitely, man. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Stay frosty, stay informed, stay vigilant. All the best from the Midwest and from Buffalo, New York. And until next time, folks.